Hey friends, it is Read Through the Word. It is March the 15th, and today's lesson is a great piggyback from yesterday's lesson. Yesterday's lesson is a good segue to this. Moses is still giving out his final instructions, and I wonder if you noticed the section Deuteronomy 11, 8 through 32, the blessings of obedience. Remember, we've already talked about those. And then they had the section of blessing of obedience and then the curse of disobedience. Did you turn the page and expect to see curse of disobedience repeated? Well, I kind of did too. Even though I've read this many times, I still expected it to be there. But it wasn't. It leads into the Lord's chosen place for worship. And we get some more instructions on working in the place of promise. Remember, we talked about yesterday that we have to work just as hard in a place of promise than as we did when we were in our place of wilderness. Once we get there, we have to be on guard. And these people in the place of promise, in the land of Canaan, they were not friendly to God's people. And they did not worship Yahweh. They worshiped many other gods. And we've already seen how the Moabite women seduced the men. So we've seen evidence of how dangerously seductive sin is and is rampant in these lands. And I just think it's so gracious of God. It's so gracious of God to warn them and to remind them of hey, these are the things that you need to continue to do. Once you get there, don't slack off. And isn't that like us in our relationship with the Lord? When things are going well, that we kind of put it in like cruise control, and we just kind of coast. I'm guilty of that at times, and I've told you yesterday that I'm working hard in my place of promise, and seriously, it's been easy and very tempting to hit coast. Because, oh my goodness, it's hard. It's hard. And why did God make it hard? Why did he make it this way? Well, he made it this way for the same reason it was difficult in the wilderness. So that we would continue to turn to him. We would continue to trust him. We would continue to seek him for our protection and our provision. We would continue to long to be in his presence because of his blessings and because of what he had done for us. And we would still have that reverent fear for him. And we wouldn't lean on ourselves, as we talked about in yesterday's lesson. And he's very, very graphic in today's lesson. He says in verse 2, when you drive out the nation. So he's promising them victory. I love that. I love that word when. When you drive out the nations that live there, that's not enough to drive them out. He says, you destroy all the places they worship their gods, high up on the mountains, up on the hills, and under every green bush. Because they felt the higher they could go, the closer they were to their gods. So, don't just fight them down here in the valleys and think that's it. You got to go all the way to the top and you tear them down. He uses words like break and smash and burn and cut down and erase. These are some strong, powerful verbs of what he wanted them to do. He wanted them to completely wipe out the land of all other gods. Because he is a jealous God, and he did not want to compete with them. Not that he is any competition for their power or anything, but boy, are other gods competing for us. And we turn to other gods so quickly and so easily. So that's what he's saying. I know how vulnerable you are. And it makes me go back to Exodus. He led them the long way because he knew the weakness that they had, and he knew that they would succumb to battle and would want to run back and to Egypt, and he was right. He was, well, big surprise, right? But he says, you recognize the gods and you recognize and destroy all the idols. Find them, hunt them down, and smash, destroy, burn, cut them down, all of that. And then he says, seek the Lord, your God. Don't stop seeking me. Just because you're there, don't stop looking for me. Seek me. And we know in Deuteronomy, he says, seek me with all of your heart. That's one of the verses. Seek me with all of your heart, soul, and mind, soul, and strength. Then he says, continue later on down. He reminds them, worship is still important. Sacrifice is still important. Tithe is still important. Offerings are still important. All of these things that I taught you and I laid out in the wilderness, they are still important here. They are still important here. They keep you in a right relationship with me. And of course, you keep reading through and constant commands. And he said at the very beginning, the decrees and regulations, you must be careful. There's that word again, careful, to obey them, to obey when you live in the land that the Lord, the God of your ancestors, is giving you. You must obey them as long as you live. So obedience in the place of promise is not an option. It's an expectation. God is laying out the expectation for them. And we'll continue the saga and see how that goes. See you tomorrow on Read Through the Word.